Hello everyone, this is Speed Dating with Salesforce Developer Experience Tooling. Before we go any farther, safe harbor. Salesforce is a publicly traded company. Please make your purchasing and investment decisions based on generally available features. Also, your feedback is very important to us. I know you've seen this slide a lot. If you haven't already taken a picture, please do, and I'll repeat this at the end. We do want your feedback. And finally, thank you. It is day 3 of Dreamforce. Dreamfest was yesterday and was pretty awesome. It is 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you've decided to come here and rest your feet and listen to this session. I really appreciate that. I hope what we'll be able to do today is give you some information about DevTools in kind of a fun way, so hopefully this will be a different and entertaining session. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. Quick introduction, my name is Vivek M. Chawla. I'm a product manager on our dev tooling team. I'm joined by my colleague, Danny.
Yeah, hello everyone, my name is Danny Chang, and I'm a principal technical account manager, usually working with our ISV and OEM partners to help them innovate on our platform.
Right. Danny and I work with a lot of customers and partners who go through this cycle, right? Plan, create, test, release, observe, this DevOps cycle, and this is more important than ever because the code that you build, the features that you work on, all of that stuff is more important than ever to the organizations that you all work for. Salesforce knows that and we're trying to help you. We help you by creating this really robust suite of DX tools. The challenge though is, there's a lot on this slide. And just show of hands, who in the room would consider themselves a pro code developer? No pro code developer, okay, I got one hand. Low code developers. Okay, that's a good mix. Do I have any admins who are developer curious? Oh, I'm going to love this crowd.
Oh,
okay.
Wow, that's a different crowd.
I want you to know that part of the problem of having so many good tools and so much good stuff is that it can be really difficult to determine which tool is right for you at the right time. So I told you we're going to have a little bit of fun with this, and here's what Danny and I are going to do. We're going to approach this as if it was speed dating, right? We've got 5 eligible contestants, 5 tools, DevOps Center, Sandboxes and ScratchOrgs, kind of a twofer there. Salesforce IDEs, Salesforce CLI, and Salesforce Code Analyzer. Now, just like any dating website, the profile picture and the profile, that's the marketing slide. In Salesforce language, we call that the money slide, you know, that the PMs always throw. So we've got a few of those. I know it's a developer session, bear with us. But I'm going to be here to act as a trusted friend. I'm a trusted friend who knows these tools, but I also know what it's like to be a pro code, low code, and even an admin who's developer curious. And I'm going to try to translate the profile image into the best features, best qualities of that tool, the favorite activities of that tool, and what kind of match that tool would be looking for. All right, so hopefully fun.
Yep, and essentially you're the matchmaker. You'll be explaining all the details, but
okay, well,
I'll go through the profiles.
Well, who's the first candidate, Danny?
First profile we have is the DevOps Center. And actually on our last session we had a lot of pro code developers, but DevOps Center I feel like would be very relevant for this crowd.
Agreed.
And my favorite part of it is that it really helps everyone work with hybrid teams. So I think we had 1 pro code developer, but also admins and low code developers. And it's a UI-based change management and source control. So working with Git and everything is very difficult. But with DevOps Center, that's all within the UI. You can see the beautiful visualizations on the right-hand side. It can also help you track your team's work items. So again, working in a hybrid team environment, that's going to be really helpful in a UI setting.
And Danny said the key word, work items. So DevOps Center, this is the dating, the truth. Tagline is, I like the way you work item it. And that's because some of the best qualities of DevOps Center include this getting along well with everybody. And that's because DevOps Center starts with this idea of projects and work items where pro code and low code developers and also admins who maybe are used to pushing things with change sets, everybody can actually work in the same development pipeline. Because DevOps Center, it has a great quality, it's a smooth operator, right? It loves to plan, loves to organize, and it's got excellent communication skills. Favorite things that DevOps Center likes to do, managing projects, tracking work items. My wife likes managing stuff at home, so I understand. Effortless deployment, deploying across many environments. You can select and choose a DevOps pipeline from sandbox to production and even scratch orgs. And finally, coordinating all of that among different teams using these tools, connecting those low code, pro code, and admin developers all in the same DevOps pipeline. DevOps Center is an ideal match for teams that want to have that kind of structure and clarity. Or admins, a lot of them in the room, admins and app builders, you can do work that gets into the Git repository without ever having to do a Git pull, Git push, or Git anything. You can just get out of Git and still have things be in the pipeline that your pro code developers are using. And hybrid teams, we've talked about that. This is what's, all these features make this a good match for hybrid teams. Next contestant, Danny, who's that?
Next up, we have Sandboxes and scratch orgs. Like you said, a 2-for-1 kind of deal.
2 for 1?
Sandboxes, I'm sure many people have heard about it. It is an isolated testing environment where you can replicate your data and metadata from your production org into a different environment and test and do your development there. Scratch orgs helps facilitate with
That's the twofer, right? Yeah.
2-for-1, yeah, exactly. Scratch orgs are Sandboxes quicker friends, yeah. It's an ephemeral org, lasts up to 30 days maximum for you to do your source-driven development, push your code in there, do your thing, and then within 30 days it'll be gone. But if you do want it for more than 30 days, you can take a snapshot of your scratch org so that you can use it later in the development cycle.
All right, so sandboxes and scratch orgs. Let's hang out and see what we build together, right? Best qualities on the sandbox side. Sandboxes are forgiving and great at mirroring. Again, my wife tells me I should mirror more. I don't think that's what is meant here. It's more like you can mirror the data and metadata in production into the sandbox. As Danny said, it's very safe. You want to make changes, make them first in the sandbox. Don't make changes in production, please. Versatility, so there's a lot of different types of sandboxes. Developer, Dev Pro, partial copy, full copy. You can also have a scale test sandbox if your organization has to sometimes scale up to like Black Friday or Diwali type events. You can get a scale test sandbox to do performance and load testing. Scratch orgs, on the other hand, they are ready to go at a moment's notice. They're always up for something new. They get ready and clean up fast. So good qualities on both sides. Favorite activities on sandbox side. Sandboxes, they love testing. You test changes with realistic data because, again, you've got that ability to mirror down the data and metadata. Sandboxes can also work with a new tool that's coming out, data seeding. And data seeding can give you realistic data in a sandbox that's not actually the actual data, it's just AI generated to have the same shape. So these are things that happen in sandboxes. Scratch orgs, they like spinning up and fading out. That kind of quick build, quick destroy, that's perfect for DevOps pipelines. And Danny had mentioned this snapshots feature. Snapshots allow you, like Danny said, you can create what you need in a scratch org, install packages, metadata, data, take a snapshot so that if you have a DevOps pipeline, when you need to spin that same configuration up, you get a new scratch org based on the snapshot, and it makes DevOps a lot faster. The ideal match for sandboxes and scratch orgs, teams that value stable environments. I mean, you need to have sandboxes help with that. And Danny also hinted at this. Sandboxes, they last as long as you want them to. Scratch orgs, they do time out at a maximum of 30 days, and then you'd have to recreate it. Developers who need flexibility, you can kind of go both ways on this. There's flexibility in the sandboxes like we talked about, flexibility in scratch orgs because you can configure a scratch org to have any kind of build you want based on the scratch org configuration file. But if your use case is CI/CD, scratch orgs. It's scratch orgs all the way. So that's your ideal match. All right, let's bail out of the twofer, and what's next?
Next up, we have Salesforce IDEs,
Okay.
which also comes in 2 flavors, but it is a very similar experience.
Oh, so this is another twofer then?
I guess.
So I lied.
Okay.
Okay.
But actually, if you saw in the booth earlier, we have the web browser experience, which is the code builder, and then we also have VS Code with the extensions. So
Right.
whichever flavor you want to try, or try both if you'd like. But this is the Salesforce development experience. Like any IDEs, you can write code on it, but that's not the only thing you can do. There's a CLI built in, and also the dev assistants. You can talk with Agentforce to ask for help with your code, to write your test classes, or even help you explain what a specific class is doing in case you've taken over a new class that you need to develop on.
Right, and what's great about Dev Assistant, so Dev Assistant just went GA this week. It's, you may have been familiar with Einstein for developers. It's now Agentforce for developers. This is our tooling that is going into both of these IDEs, whether it's Code Builder or VS Code. It's all that IDE experience and Dev Assistant and our work on making you more productive with AI. They're all going to come through those IDEs with Dev Assistant. All right. The dating tagline, Salesforce IDEs, are you experienced? And that's my chance to see if there's any Hendrix fans, or am I just getting really, really old?
We
There was one?
we
Got one? Oh, thank you. Maybe I'm not as old as I thought. Maybe I am. Best qualities of Salesforce IDEs. Both IDEs, VS Code, Code Builder, they are excellent hosts. They love to get together with different tools. The IDEs play nicely with the CLI, which is something we'll talk about shortly. But they also work well with a number of other tools. Apex Replay Debugger, for example, that's an important tool. There's SOCL Query Builder. There's a lot of different tools that come in as part of the IDE that I want you to think about instead of just, oh, if I need to write Apex, I use an IDE. There's more than that. The IDE is multilingual. Definitely spent 1 or 2 semesters abroad because the IDE knows about Apex, Lightning, like JavaScript, the LWC flavor of Lightning, SOCL. By having language servers that understand what the syntax is for each of these languages, it can give you IntelliSense, it can give you help for different commands or code that you want to run, and all of that is from the language servers. And it's up for anything, you just have to find the right extension. Our IDEs are extensible, so the VS Code IDE, our Salesforce extensions themselves are extensions. If you want to add to the IDE and change its behavior, you can use your own extensions or install them from the marketplace. Same thing with Code Builder. Favorite activities, squishing bugs. You heard me mention the Apex Replay Debugger. It's super easy to get into it. You run a test class, you click a little bug icon, and boom, you've got what feels like an interactive debugger, but it's actually running post-transaction, and it's giving you a replay and letting you examine variables and how they change. Drawing colorful, squiggly little lines. Very artistic, yes. That artistry is basically helping you figure out what's wrong with your code. That's part of those language servers, and even you get squiggles when you have integrations with Code Analyzer, one of the other things that come with the IDE. And finally, getting smarter with Agentforce. I talked about that. We're putting a lot of effort into making these tools smarter, and the IDE is a good place for that. Okay, obviously, ideal match, developers. If you're a pro code developer, you should really be using these tools, either Code Builder or VS Code. Now, I want to extend an invitation to the low-code developers and admins, especially for Code Builder, because it can be very difficult sometimes to set up your local environment with VS Code. Sometimes you have to get the right version of Java. I understand that there are barriers to entry, but with Code Builder, it's as easy as having your admin turn it on for the org, enabling a perm, adding a permission set to a user, and then that user, they log in, they click launch, they get a full-featured IDE without any of the setup. So low-code developers and admins, if you can get into Code Builder that way, you can use the SOCL Query Builder. You can use the org browser to look at metadata. And like admins, that's what I meant by peeking under the hood. There's things that you can do, things you can understand about your orgs with a graphical interface that you might not be aware of. You just have to try out the tools. All right, Danny, I kind of love this next one.
Oh, I wonder why.
I'm the product manager for it, but tell me, no pressure.
Oh, okay. Let's try not to mess this up. Next up, we have the Salesforce CLI, essentially a unified command interface for your Salesforce development.
Okay, I approve so far.
It's a great product. So scripting and automation. Whatever you can write on the command line, you can automate it, script it for if you need to use it more and more repeatability, essentially.
Okay.
That's the word I was looking for.
Okay.
It can also be used for org management, so keep track of what orgs you might have. If you want to create new ones and so on, you're going to do the org management. Also, and metadata and data management. That one's kind of self-explanatory. So.
Okay, you did good enough. All right, I approve. Salesforce CLI, your wish is my command. Best qualities. CLI is very comfortable adapting to almost any environment. You can connect to multiple environments. You can use the CLI locally if you're a developer in Code Builder, which it comes bundled with Code Builder, or in VS Code. You can install the CLI in a GitHub action. And this is where DevOps folks would use the CLI. You can use the CLI everywhere. It makes managing complexity and multitasking easy. CLI means scriptable, basically. If you have multiple commands, multiple things that need to happen with an org, you can script that to the CLI, and it's willing to grow and adapt. The CLI is also an extendable product. You can build CLI plugins yourself. You can use the CLI plugins that we build, and there's a whole galaxy of CLI plugins that other people in the community have built. All of that extends the usability of the CLI. Favorite activities, working with all kinds of environments, like I said, Scratch orgs, Sandboxes, productions, DE orgs. The CLI can connect to all. Running orchestrated operations, that's your CI/CD. Trying out exciting capabilities with plugins. Talked about that, it goes hand in hand with that quality of being extensible. Ideal match. So developers, if you're sick of doing repetitive things, if you do a Scratch org delete, Scratch org create, source push, project deploy start, you can write a simple shell script and automate that, you kick that off and you get a coffee. So scripting the CLI does not have to be just for DevOps people. But release managers, DevOps, this is your must-have tool, must-have. Admins, again, if you can get Code Builder and kind of get that onto into your browser, the CLI is right there. I invite you to play with it. If nothing else, go to the CLI and type in SF search, SF space search. And as an admin, that'll help you explore the different commands that are available. All right, our last contestant, Danny, Code Analyzer.
Last but not least, yes, we have the Code Analyzer. Code Analyzer is a static code analysis tool that you can integrate with your CI/CD pipeline. You can also write your own rules to catch maybe if your team has a specific way of doing things, you can also write those rules in there. That's in open beta, and also it integrates with the IDE, and Apex GURU, which we covered earlier.
Perfectly said, perfectly said. All right, best qualities of Code Analyzer. It's dependable. It's a very, very fast set of engines to find problems. Code Analyzer loves rules, but is willing to compromise. That's especially true with Code Analyzer 5 that allows you great customization through a codeanalyzer.yaml config file. And finally, it's good for great teamwork. If you get everyone on your team building code that meets a certain Code Analyzer review spec, everybody's going to be writing the same quality. Favorite activities, spotting small flaws, say that 3 times fast, before they become big disasters. Shift left, if anyone's ever heard that phrase, shift left, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Finding something early so that it is not going to cost you more time and money later to fix. Code Analyzer loves doing this. Hunting down security vulnerabilities. Remember we had the Apex debugger that could squish the bugs. You can help find more bugs with Code Analyzer. And Code Analyzer double dates with Apex GURU. Apex GURU, which comes with Scale Center, can work with Code Analyzer to give performance advice and find performance anti-patterns so that your code is not just going to be more secure or more clean, but it's also going to be more performant. Now, ideal match, the developer one at the top and the release manager one at the bottom. Let me just get those out of the way. It's a no-brainer for both of those. I want to talk about the middle one, admins. Code Analyzer, if you've ever been in the position where you've had to rely on a contractor or external developers and they made some Apex and you're just kind of at the mercy, you don't know does it work right? Are there going to be issues? If you learn how to run Code Analyzer, you can have this report that says there's this violation, that violation, and at least it's a starting point for a conversation to say, hey, contractor, why am I getting these violations in the code you wrote? And as a contractor, I would recommend use Code Analyzer, take that report, that's a badge of honor, because you can say, hey, I've scanned this, look at the fact that we have no violations. By the way, if I do another scan, here's a bunch of other violations that you might want to address. So this levels the playing field and gives you a lot of opportunity for conversations. All right, we're over time. I'll just close with this. Matchmaking tips, be courageous, try out these tools, even if you think it might not be right for you, give it a try. There's always room to improve our processes, so keep an open mind. And finally, learn from us, lean on the experts. I'll be right over there near the low code and pro code flag, doing demos of everything we just talked about, probably about a half an hour from now. So would love to see some of you come out there. With that, thank you so much for staying and giving us your attention. And please give us your feedback. Thank you.